everybody, welcome to Drive Through Review 159. Today I'm going to talk about German railways. My edition is from Queen Games. This is originally a Winsome game. So if you're not familiar with the Winsome game, there's a guy that basically puts out a release or a few releases every year at Essen, either reprints of older games or newer games, prints them out in basically sort of like a clamshell or even a bag, and very low on the component quality, at least the production value of it, and puts out train games. And sort of the Age of Steam, and I believe this is right, the Age of Steam and Steam line is came kind of out of some Winsome games. This is German Railways, and the game it probably most reminds me of in a way is probably sort of a cross between Chicago Express, which has some popularity, some visibility. It's another Winsome game that Queen reprinted, and it has a sort of reminds me of 1830, which I haven't played. I haven't, but I've read the rules how many times I don't know, but I just haven't been able to get it to the table. The thing that reminds me about 1830 is each of the different rail lines, the railroads, have different sort of special abilities and little idiosyncrasies that they, as far as what kind of capabilities they have, and not only where they start and how many stocks and how many rail lines they can put out, but also it's different sort of rule changes, sort of special powers, if you will. So it plays 3 to 5, and let me just show you how it works, and I'll come back and tell you what I think about it. Okay, so I've got everything set up here to start the game. There's 8 different rail lines in the game. You can see 4 auction certificates, stock certificates across the top. There's also 4 across the bottom here. You can also see there's a sort of a stack or assortment of the different colored trains for each of these, and these are just sort of cute little candy looking locomotives there. To start the game, you're going to put 1 locomotive in each of the starting cities, so you can see blue here with the starting locomotive. You can see the blue railroad starts here in a city with a 3 value. The red here starts with nothing, which basically means it's a 1. And then each of the rail lines has a color-coded marker to show where they're at on the income track here. So blue starts at a 3, we put the little blue cube there at the 3. Everybody else is going to start at a 1, except brown at a 2 and black also at a 3. Now green technically is starting at a 1 as well, but he doesn't actually generate any income until he connects to Berlin. So we're going to leave him off the track for now. Now you can see Berlin here in the center, sort of the center of the board here. Green doesn't actually generate any income until it connects to Berlin. And if we take a look at the board, we can get some idea of the different types of terrain and spaces here. So you've got different cities here. Anything without a number basically is going to increase a railroad's income by 1. This one will increase it by 2. You've got clear spaces. We've got sort of hilly areas in this brown color, and then a mountainous space in the gray color. So the object of the game is to get the most money at the end of the game. Players are going to be buying stock in the different rail lines, and also executing different actions, possibly extending their track, and trying to connect to different cities, as well as intersect and connect with other railroads. And then along the side of the board here is basically a payout track. So as players' sort of worth goes up, as they own stock in more and more valuable rail lines, they're going to move their little marker up here. So let's say, blue has up to 7. He's going to be up here, and it's going to keep track of where you're at as far as what your worth is when a payout happens. So when a payout happens, it's going to happen frequently. It's very easy to reference how much money you're going to take from the bank based on your little marker moving up this track. So to start the game, you're going to give out a certain number of amount of money to players based on the number of players, and then you're going to auction off each of these shares. So you're going to start down here with the black company and work your way across to the brown, the orange, the blue, and then go all the way to the top, auction off a yellow, orange, purple, and then finally a green share up there. And just a quick note about the colors here. So you've got the brown and the black share here. I mean, you can tell the difference, but it is pretty close. And you've got the yellow and the orange here. So for some reason I have a little bit of trouble with the yellow and orange in this case. I'm not colorblind, but kind of depending on the lighting, it might be difficult for people to discern the color of some of these shares. So after that initial auction round, we're going to move everybody's marker up to what their value is. So to show you how that kind of works, just for argument's sake, let's say I had a black share and a blue share. I can take a look here on the income track, and black and blue are both at the 3. So that means my value up here is going to be 6. So let's say I was the blue player, I would take and move my marker up here to be 6. Let's say white had some shares and their value was 2, and then let's say green was here at 4, and yellow was at 4, and let's say red only had a share that was at 1. So if I was blue and I got another share of black, and black hadn't moved up but was still at value 3 for that company, I would basically move myself up 3, like so. So we're going to auction off all the shares, we're going to determine who has sort of the greatest net worth in terms of payouts, and then this is going to somewhat determine player order. Now at the top of the board you can kind of see right there is the player order track. Now what's going to happen here, this may be a deal breaker actually for some people. And I will make a quick note here and say that with 5 players, I think this may be a deal breaker with me. But I've played it with less, and I quite enjoy the game, probably best with 3, I think. 4, maybe, it's not quite as bad as 5, but 5, I really don't want to play this game with 5. And I'll show you why. So what's going to happen is we have this bag here. And so each player has markers in their color. So if I were the blue player there, I'd take the blue discs here. Now since I'm in first place, I'm going to put 1 marker in this bag. And green and yellow are in second place. So they're each going to put 2 markers in the bag. And then white, for all intents and purposes, is in third place. They're going to put 3 of their markers in the bag. And then red is in last place, so he'll put 4 markers in the bag. So if you were playing a 3-player game, for example, let's say we got rid of white and red over there. Blue would put 1 in, and then green and yellow would both put 2 in. But what's going to happen is you're going to draw these out of the bag and then place them on the turn order track. So just as an experiment, I put the discs in here as they would be in the situation I set up before. So let's draw the markers. So first we have green, and green, member, was second place. He only had 2 markers in here, so he got a good luck there. Next one is yellow. Yellow was also second place, so he had 2. Next one, let's see what we got here. Okay, blue. Blue only had 1 in there, and so he's still going to get an action here. So at this point, white and red, who are currently sort of in last place as far as income and dividend payouts, they really got screwed. So let's take a look here. So I'll draw another one out. Let's see. Okay, another green one. Green's actually going to act twice here. So you can start to see why people will be frustrated by this. So let me draw out another one. So red. Red comes out. Now red had the most in there. He had 4. Now white is not going to get a turn. Now when I say he doesn't get a turn, he's still going to be able to participate in any auctions that may happen during the round here. But it's a little bit of a bummer here for white. And this is good that this happened. So if we take a look back over here, you can see on the side there, blue is, for all intents and purposes, started the game off with a little bit of a lead. White and red are kind of hanging back. And the idea is that you put in the discs so you have a higher probability of drawing them. But even though that happened, even though red had 4 in there, he's still only getting 1 action. White's actually getting 0. So white is really going to start the game off probably a little bit frustrated. So when it comes to your turn, basically we're going to walk down the player order. So green's going to go first. We're going to take his marker off. And then he basically has 3 choices. He can pass, which sometimes is ideal in this game. I have seen people pass to effect. He can auction off a share, or he can activate or basically expand one of the railroads that he has shares in. So passing is self-explanatory. Auctioning off a share is somewhat self-explanatory. You're going to choose a share, put it up for auction, start the bidding, basically just keep going around the table till everybody is passed. And then I should have mentioned before that when you win a share and you pay your bid, you don't pay it back to the bank. You actually pay it to the railroad here. So if I paid, let's say, I don't know, you wouldn't do this, but if I paid $100 for a share of orange, I'm going to put that here, and you basically just kind of stack the money over here or underneath the little indicator here for the railroad. Which leads us into the third and final choice you can make on your turn, and that is to build track. Now when you build track, again, you don't build it from money that in your supply. You build it from money that the railroad currently has. Now typically what you're going to do is you're going to build 3 tracks. So if I had the orange one here, and I would build 3 tracks, so I could basically take and build maybe one there, and then one into Berlin like so. Or if I didn't want to go to Berlin right away, I could take and build 3 over this way or whatever. Now that's not always going to be the case. It may be that some of the different special abilities of the different railroads maybe let you build more or less, or some other different nuances, which I'll get into in just a minute. But for the most part, you're going to build 3 track, and you're going to pay for that track. again, out of the railroad itself. Now the cost to build in the different hexes is shown up here. It's basically $2 for a clear hex, $3 for a hill, and $4 for a mountainous space. In addition to that, you may have to spend extra to go into an urban space. So if I was blue, you know, coming in this way, say that would cost me $2, and the next one here would cost me $2. But if there was a brown guy already in there, that's going to cost me an extra $1. So basically you have to pay whatever the terrain of the space was, plus however many railroads were previously in that space. So if I were blue, I have to pay $3 for the space, $2 for the fact that it's a clear space, and then $1 because there was another railroad already in there. So if yellow were to come in here, he'd have to pay $2 plus another $2 for each of those. So you have to pay basically $1 for each. In addition, these urban spaces are the only spaces that there can be more than one railroad in. All these other clear spaces and mountains of spaces, you can only ever have one railroad in those spaces. Now what's going to happen though, when you connect two different railroads, so let's say brown was already in here like so, and blue comes in here to connect. And so they're now in the same space as brown and basically connected and sort of merged with that company. That's going to trigger a payout immediately. And that's actually very simple to calculate based on this track here. So what you basically do is you're going to do a payout, and you're going to look here and say, okay, blue's going to get $24, yellow's going to get 22, green's going to get 21, white's going to get 11, and red's going to get 10. And it's actually very easy to audit as well, because if you forget to maybe advance your marker or something like that, you can look on the track over here, the income track for the different railroads. So if black was here at 7 and you had two, black shares, then you're going to know, okay, I should be getting 14 for black, and you can go and add up all those. So what this basically does, it gives you sort of a cheat sheet, a quick shortcut, if you've been keeping up to date with it, for making those dividend payouts run very smoothly, and that's very nice. Now there's one other thing that's going to happen here. You're going to pay out the amount indicated on the dividend chart, but whatever color railroad triggered the connection. So if it was the guy that was placing blue, and blue was placed, so blue is actually going to pay out twice. And this is what's known as a preferred dividend. So if blue initiates the connection, blue shares are actually going to pay out twice. And that's, again, very simple to calculate. Let's say blue is up here at 10. So you're going to pay out based on your dividend shares, and then anybody that owns blue shares is going to get an extra, in this case, $10 per share, because again, blue's going to pay out double if they were the one that initiate the connection. So that is actually really kind of a large part of the game, is figuring out and trying to make it so that you are initiating the connections, okay, with shares that you own. So you want to have a good stock and kind of be sort of the controller of the railroad that's going to initiate a connection. So the game's going to end when each railroad company is connected to two others. And then again, anytime you place a railroad, let's say we have blue down here, we're going to connect up to there, we're going to bump up blue by 1 on this income track. If they connect to a city here, maybe you can't see that, but that has a 2. So let's say orange moves into here, they're going to move up 2 on the income track. So you want to be kind of bouncing through these cities, being able to build the worth of the railroads as the game goes by. Berlin is an interesting feature because it's going to bump up your railroad's value worth by 3. But you see this sort of approach zone here. Now you can only ever have one color of railroad inside anywhere in the approach zone. So if orange came in here like so, and then connected to Berlin, then they now have one color of their trains in the approach zone. So they can't go like out this way, for example, like that. They've got to come in, and they can only have one inside this sort of light green zone there. So that's all very simple and straightforward. And again, just a quick sort of strategic note, you want to kind of hold back. So if you control blue and you're sort of getting closer to orange, you don't want to get so close that it's very easy for the guy that controls orange on their next turn to maybe build 2 tracks out, and they connect, and then orange is going to get that double payout. So you kind of want to sort of, kind of take your time kind of going around and not just set yourself up so that everybody's connecting to you and they're getting a double payout. Meanwhile, you're getting paid out, but you're not getting paid out as much as everybody else. So that's the gist of the game. But I mentioned at the beginning, each one of these 8 railroads has a special power, sort of a unique ability and a unique characteristic to that railroad. So let me go over those very quickly here just so you have an idea. So I'll start in the bottom left-hand corner here. This is the black railroad. and its unique ability, it starts up there, so it starts a fair distance and kind of off by itself. You can, instead of building 3 tracks per turn, you can actually build 4, and that's its ability. This next one down the line here is the brown one. Now it has a unique ability. It starts here, and then anytime it connects to a city, an urban space that already has a railroad there, it does not pay the extra money. So no matter how many railroads are there, it can just build in there just for the terrain cost. Now the orange one here is the next one. It starts really close to Berlin. Its ability is you can only extend it by 2 tracks instead of the normal 3 per turn. Now the blue one is an interesting one. It starts off down here. It can pay 1 less for each hex that it enters into. So the plains hexes only cost 1, the hills cost 2, and the mountains only cost 3 for blue. The yellow one is a very interesting one up here. It basically gains twice the amount of its largest urban city. So basically yellow starts here, and it'll start at 1, which means it'll actually be up down here at 2. I think I had that set up wrong at the beginning. So its largest city is currently 1, so we'll double that. But if it connected to this one here, this one will actually double this, so this will be 4 and then 5 for that. So you take whatever the largest city that it's connected to, double that one, and then add everything else to it. Now red is also interesting. The red one starts here, and its first hex that it buys is always free. And the next one here is purple, and purple is kind of similar to orange. Orange can only build 2 on a turn, but purple is actually restricted to spending $5 whenever they expand track. So you could basically only build 2 in these plains areas because that would add up to $4. But you can only build 1 track in the mountains because that's $4 already. But you kind of see it's surrounded by a lot of cities there, so it's got some quick income at the beginning of the game. And then green, I actually mentioned earlier in the video, green doesn't actually pay out anything. It doesn't show up on the income until it connects to Berlin. So green wants to get into Berlin, and then it's going to start moving up on the income track there at the bottom. So that's the game. You're going to basically, randomly determine the turn order, sort of loosely based on the dividend track, and you're going to either pass, auction off a share, or expand track. And there's only 3 shares for each of the different railroads. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the overview. You can see it's a very straightforward game, and I know the turn order is really going to, cheese some people off. It cheeses me off in a 5-player game just for the fact that if I go through a turn without getting any action of my own, that's really boring. I mean, regardless of mathematically what the game is doing, it bores me. I have to sit and wait for 4 other people and maybe one guy to go 3 times in a row or something like that. It's not that great, but I really like the game with 3 players, and 4 I still like it, but 3 I think is the way to play this game. So I would say check it out. You may not like that turn order thing. It may drive you crazy. I know people like kick and scream about it, and they have at the table when I've played it. But I like it. I like a lot of the different aspects. I like the different abilities of the different train companies. I like the simplicity of it. I like that it plays quickly. Now the box says it plays 60 minutes. And I would say 3 players, perfect. 60 minutes, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less once you get the hang of it. With 5 players, no. 5 players, you're going to go for a while. So I think you're going to go over. I mean, you could get with a group, depending on the group. If you're like a dedicated train game group playing 18xx games all the time, and this is your filler warm-up game, you could probably play in a half an hour, or whatever. But I think most, sort of casual groups that maybe will get into this if they really are looking for sort of a train game, sort of an entry-level train game, I think they're still going to go well over an hour. It's feasible. I mean, it's definitely likely. So it's interesting. I like the dividend payouts. I like the sort of cat and mouse that you have to do with, trying to get those double payouts to happen in your favor. There is the thing that makes me push it from moving up from 3 players up into 4 is you get a little bit more sort of that cooperation aspect that's more interesting in some of the more interesting train games. And you can get that quite a bit in the 5 player as well. It's just that whole turn order catch-up thing really kind of blows it for me. And not that I won't play again with 5. Kind of as I'm saying this, I'm kind of remembering the partnerships the temporary partnerships that will form. So the 5-player kind of has that going for it. But it just it's a bummer because if you're in first, I kind of get it, maybe you don't get a turn. But then if you're kind of in last and then you get hosed by the bag draw, that's just not good. So there may be another way to sort of redefine and streamline that turn order thing, so you basically get, maybe the first place player doesn't get a turn or something if you're playing a 5-player, and then the last place guy's guaranteed 2 turns or something like that. I don't know though, because sometimes the games can be tight, and in that last place player's not really that far behind, so you wouldn't really want to give him 2 in a row and like he gets 2 double payments and stuff. So as sort of a quicker 1 hour to 2 hour, if you have more people, train game, I really enjoy it. You know, this is a game I'll keep. I kind of like this better than Chicago Express, just because that game is, I played the heck out of that so much, and it was just like, ugh, it's like everything is pre-programmed now. It's like, okay, I will bid 16.50 cents or whatever the thing is, and you know, and it's just so like, just it's obvious, that game after a while. This one though, I think it kind of randomizes it enough to make it more interesting and replayable in some ways. Anyway, so German Railways, I would definitely take a look at it. I think people, you know, some people will like it, some people won't. If you're going to have a heart attack about the turn order, then whatever. But I like it with 3 for that aspect. It plays quickly, and you know, you still have got the auctions and all the enjoyable train game stuff. So anyway, take a look at it. Thanks.